Recording.
Started.
Hello everyone, this is Atin Handuja, founder and CEO of Legalfoxes. Hope you all are safe. I welcome you all to the Legalfoxes webinar sessions. Today we have our session on the topic how to prepare for LLM and whether to do it just before LLB or after 2 to 3 years. Today we have Ms. Srideja Shah here. She is attorney with dual qualification from India and California. She has graduated from University of California, Berkeley, with specialization in business laws. Welcome to the session, ma'am.
Hi, Atin. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you to Legalfoxes as well for inviting me for this session.
So you guys can ask your questions in the chat box in between the session. Now, ma'am, you can start with the session.
All right. So before I start, I actually want to know how many of you are law students currently and how many of you are legal professionals. So if you can just put your answer in the chat box, it'll be really nice so that I can know which direction to move forward with.
Or you can give us a hand. You can raise your hand.
All right. So it seems that most of the people in the session are law students. Okay, so welcome all of you, and I really hope you're enjoying law school. I definitely did. So let me start with why one should do an LLM, right? After LLB or after 2-3 years. So the first thing I want you to understand is that LLM opens up a lot of opportunities for you, whether it's a change in career that you need, whether it's plunging into academics, whether it's the craze that you have for, I want to earn in dollars. I've actually had a lot of people tell me that I want to earn in dollars, and that's my reason for doing LLM. Let me correct you, that's not how it's going to work. But apart from job, academics, your change in career track, there are a lot of other reasons why you need to pursue LLM, and one of them is growing your network. Now, I'm sure like all of you know about how having connections is one of the main ways that you can actually get cases as a lawyer. So let me first start by asking how many of you are actually active on LinkedIn every day? Now that you're in a lockdown period, do you actually write on LinkedIn? Do you post articles? Are you entering competitions? So how many of you are active on LinkedIn?
Those who are.
You can just raise your hand and I'll be able to see it. There's an option of raise hand if I'm not wrong.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so that's really nice. And I'm glad that all of you are really, really active on LinkedIn. So, okay, so I do have a question of what to do because I am not active yet. Let me answer that question after we're done with the session, and you can reach out to me on LinkedIn if you want tips on how you can be more active on LinkedIn. But let's stick to the topic, which is LLM. So first of all, doing an LLM is all about what you want to specialize in. Especially after graduating, your entire career depends on what you choose. And from a very personal experience and from experiences of the people that I actually know, it's difficult to change your career midway. There will be times when you will actually end up starting from scratch if you decide that, okay, so let me give an example. For example, you decide that I'm really interested in IPR and I want to do my LLM in IPR. You do your LLM in IPR, you study, you specialize, and after studying, you realize that maybe just maybe this wasn't the subject for me, and maybe I'm little inclined towards criminal law or alternative dispute resolution. So before choosing your LLM, always remember that you need to really understand what your specialization is. That is why one of the main reasons I tell people that you shouldn't actually do an LLM right after graduating. My personal experience, I actually did about 10 to 12 internships throughout my law school, and my internships were ranged from litigation to corporate to environmental law, basically everything. I worked with Supreme Court, big law firms, NGOs. I tried every single thing. And that's how I ended up deciding that what I really, really wanted to do was have a career in corporate law. Now, corporate law is actually really vast. There are like a lot of different aspects that you can enter into, like capital markets, you have private equity, you have fund investments. And honestly, I had no idea. I had no idea what sector to enter in. But I was sure of one thing, which is doing an LLM in business laws, or at least practicing in business laws, which is why I ended up applying to Berkeley. And that is the only law school I applied to. So, and I got accepted. As you know, I graduated from Berkeley. And I don't think I regret my decision even once of applying only to Berkeley. Mainly because I knew what I wanted to do. I actually found my passion, which is within business laws. I ended up entering venture capital finance. That is something that I never thought I would actually end up pursuing. So I would definitely say that if you're sure about your specialization, then go for it. If you know that this is what I want to do and you have no alternative options, like it shouldn't be like, oh, well, I'm interested in corporate law, but I'm also interested in this. If the situation is such, I would definitely recommend to work in the practice area, which is your primary interest, and thereafter move to going for LLM. I do see a lot of questions, and we do have a question and answer round after the session is over. So can I request Atin or Devshri to actually just make sure that I get all of the questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure, ma'am. We'll read out the questions to you.
All right, perfect. So that is the first thing, doing a specialization. So be sure of what you want to do. And if you have any doubts, do not take up LLM right after graduation, because that would just end up not making a decision for you, wastage of money. It costs a lot, as you all know. Second is having a career abroad. Now, I do get this question a lot, wherein we're asked that, is LLM a shortcut way to actually settle abroad? No, it's absolutely not a shortcut way. Because the first thing you need to understand is that, one, if you go right after doing your LLB, you have no work experience. Your internships do not mean anything to law firms over there. If you haven't interned with them, if you haven't seen their style of working, they're not going to care if you've worked in or interned with Cyril Amerchant for all 5 years of your law school, for example. They're just not going to care. So if you're thinking about a career abroad, I would actually definitely recommend that you get 2-3 years of experience. And that is the first mistake I made. I was so sure that I wanted to do business laws. I did not actually think for a second that maybe I want work experience. Maybe I want to settle there. So I ended up doing business law specialization and finally decided that I want to settle in California. I want to take the California bar exam, and this is what I want to do in life. But because I had no work experience, the amount of struggle that went in was that while studying LLM, I had taken 17 credits per semester, which is the highest you can take, which means you're basically studying throughout the week because you have assignments, you have a lot of reading to do. They actually cold call over there. Unlike in India, when you cold call and you say you don't know, you probably wouldn't be looked down upon. But LLM is a competitive space. So not knowing your reading could actually affect you. So while I was juggling studying for LLM, I had to figure out a way to get a job right after I graduate, which meant I was applying and meeting with partners and associates of law firms 5 days a week. Obviously, that meant that I had to rent a car every single day, drive down, drive back up to my apartment, which is a hassle because everything is easily 15 to 20 kilometers minimum. And when I say minimum, it's a lot. You do not want to be stuck in that situation. I got rejection for every single position I applied. And the reason given, you don't have work experience. You've worked in India as an intern in big law firms, but we don't really know what your work ethics are like. We don't want an international student because you will have visa problems. So there's a lot of problems that come in when you have no work experience, especially if you want a career abroad. Luckily for me, the way it turned out was I decided that since they actually want work experience, I will join litigation. I will actually learn about the US legal system, learn the skills that they actually want, and then go into the area of law that I really want to work in, which was venture capital finance. So I ended up working at a legal aid, and I actually enjoyed because I learned a lot more about the US legal system than I did studying US legal system in Berkeley. And from there was just one step at a time. I graduated, got a job at Legal Aid. From there, a mid-sized law firm decided to hire me. And I started working with startups. I started working on the things that I really wanted to work on. So I actually ended up working not only venture capital finance sector, but also normal business litigation side, drafting of contracts, drafting of partnership agreements. From there, I made my way to big law firms and started doing contractual work. So the way I decided to go about my career is that I thought, since I have a vast network back home, I would use that network and get clients for myself and do it on a contractual basis with the law firm. Right when I started doing that and I came to India, of course, the pandemic happened and here I am with you at 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time. But it was difficult. So if you're thinking about a career abroad, let me tell you, the struggle is real and you're gonna get 1,000 rejections because my mailbox till date, until I started working in that mid-sized law firm, was filled with rejections. And it became like a routine for me. Oh, I got an email from this company, it must be a rejection. That's how it became because I just knew. So I would say wait for 2 years if you want a career abroad. You really, really need that experience, because with job experience, they know that you have practical skills that can actually be utilized over there. Everyone goes through the same training, and that training, no matter what sector you work in, is always useful. Your third reason to do an LLM. So I see one or two questions about you're interested in a particular sector of law, which isn't that much in India, or it's restricted in India. All right, so taking that particular question as a hypothetical, if you're going for LLM only from a learning perspective, you need to weigh in the options as to, again, one, what is your plan after you do the LLM? If it leads to doing a job or taking up a job in US or UK or Singapore, wherever you're going, then it's not a wise option, like I said. If you're doing it because you think you can come back and actually work your way in India and establish a ground firm in India that actually looks into that sector, go for it. It's a great way of learning. It's an amazing way to actually know about how laws are there, how you can actually improve upon your legal writing, your communication skills, your written skills. All right.
Shall
I
read
will
out
talk
the
about
questions
my
to you?
specific steps regarding my experience in the question and answer round, if that's okay. Because since we have limited time, I want to make sure that I'm touching all the points about why to do an LLM, how you can prepare for it, and how you can actually make the best decision. To whoever has asked me this, I'm sorry, but I'll actually answer all your questions, and you can reach out to me on LinkedIn anytime you want. Getting back, if you're going for the sole purpose of learning, go ahead, and I would actually recommend it, because you can actually utilize that knowledge, come back and work your way through in India. Fourth is academics. I'm not sure how many of you are actually interested in academics. So why don't you raise your hand and tell me if you're actually interested in pursuing academics after finishing law school?
There are few people.
Yeah. All right. So academics is actually a really nice sector. And if you're actually interested in working as a law professor or an academician who works in research and goes for policy making or joins a research institute, then I think I would actually recommend doing an LLM. And few of the main reasons why is that, one, most universities, reputed universities, I would say, do not take in a law professor without any LLM. So I am a Jindal graduate, and I know for a fact that Jindal Law School does not take in professors without an LLM degree. And most of the law professors have always graduated from top law schools and law schools in like US or UK. So if you're looking forward to joining as a professor or a research associate, definitely do an LLM. It gives you a perspective on what your legal writing should be, what your legal research skills should be. And I actually learned there was a finer way of writing than I did in Jindal. When I entered LLM in Berkeley, the first assignment we were given is writing down a memo in our US legal class, legal system class. And I actually received a very average score. And I was shocked because I was always one of those students who would graduate in the top of the class, or at least in the top 5, if not the topper. I would at least be in the top 5. And the legal writing skills that I developed while being at LLM were completely different from what I developed as a law student. So go ahead. If you're interested in academics, go ahead, because it's going to improve your legal writing skills. It's going to improve how you research. It's going to improve how you present yourself. Because you meet a lot of different personalities in LLM, and because you meet a lot of different people from different cultures, it actually does affect the way you think, the way you act, the way you present yourself, which are really important when you're a law professor. If I remember, the best law professors that I had in Jindal were the ones who knew how to present themselves, who had that particular sense of knowing what they were actually teaching rather than just looking at the slides. They were passionate about it. So go ahead for a career in academics. You can do LLM right after graduating, because you don't need 2-3 years of work experience, unless you're not sure about how exactly you want to pursue your academic career, which is like, if you don't know if you want to be a law professor in criminal law, or you want to teach international law, or you want to teach business laws. If that's the case, then definitely work for 2 years, go ahead and then enter academics. Lastly, the reason why you should do an LLM is your earning potential, and as well as your network. So even if you have, let's say, a lot of connections in India, and you know you're going to be a great litigator someday, for example, you need to understand that just by having that particular network is not going to be enough. Because what you want to do as a lawyer, you want to establish yourself, you want to make sure that every high profile case comes to you. I'm sure that a lot of you, whoever is interested in litigation, wants to be that next Salve or KTS Tulsi or anyone else. I'm sure you want to reach that level. But for that, network is really, really important. And I have actually managed to get a lot of clients only because of my network. And not only my network in India, but my network that I made during LLM. The people that I studied with, they know what I do. They know where I am. And whenever they had a question regarding, oh, so you're from India, and we're doing this, my company or my law firm is actually working on a company that has a subsidiary in India, and we want to know about the Indian laws, and we want a law firm. So even though I wasn't working in India, because I was that connection, I made a connection with Indian law firms that helped me getting more clients. I have clients that go to Indian law firms saying, we want to collaborate with her, so she will actually be our counselor. She'll be our outside counsel. So do an LLM if you really want to increase your network. And just lastly, if you work for 3-4 years, you want to break in life, and you like what you're doing, you like what you're working in, go ahead, do a specialization in that subject, and just have a nice time. I've had my friends in LLM who literally came for LLM because they needed a break in their life. They'd actually been working for 7 to 8 years, And they were just like, we need a break. 1 year of meeting new people, enjoying different cultures, and just relaxing. So that is the last resort you take. But clearly, since most of you are law students, I'm sure that that is not the case right now. But if you ever do decide to skip or delay your LLM, then do it only when you know for sure, like either you want to move to that particular country, or you want to just learn, or you want to take a break. Now, there are certain things that actually depend on your personal choice. So let me ask again, how many of you are interested in actually having dual qualifications as a lawyer? So when I say dual qualifications, I mean you want to be associated with bars of different countries. Like I am associated with, I passed the California bar exam, and I'm also taking the New York bar exam next year. So, okay, so a lot of you, all right. So if you're going for, so the best way to actually go and give a bar is through doing an LLM, because it makes it easier. You understand how you're supposed to write your answers. You understand the kind of working style that they require for even writing an answer. And you understand their laws, because you will end up taking a lot of subjects that are that particular specific countries, even if you're not specializing in any other subject. So for me, I decided to take the California bar, but in order to actually take the bar, I had to take a few subjects. So I ended up taking evidence law, contracts law, just the basic subjects that qualify you for the bar exam. So if your plan in the near future or after LLB is to one day actually be a lawyer in other countries and settle down as an international lawyer, as a foreign lawyer, definitely go for LLM, because that is the best way to actually take, at least for US bar exams, that is the best way to go for it. With UK, it's dependent on training contracts and preparing for the exam. Now, clearly, I haven't been through that, so I wouldn't advise you on how you can take the UK exam. But what I do know is that there's an exam called QLTS, which you can take after 3 years of work experience. So definitely look that up. And if you do an LLM, it actually makes it easier as well. Lastly, okay, I see that I have like only some time remaining. Is that correct, Atin?
Yeah, ma'am. We have 5 minutes for this session. So can we take these questions?
All right. So I'm just gonna make sure that I hurry up, but I'll make sure I'm still not talking too fast. So when I talked about career abroad and about the rejections, let me tell you a bit about that again. So from the perspective of a recruiter, you need to understand that, one, just like in India, how previously, like I would say at least 7-8 years ago, most law firms preferred NLU students. And I'm sure that a lot of you must have actually still received that kind of a response. I'm not sure how it's still, whether it's still like that or not. But from a perspective of a recruiter in an international law firm, one, they think that people who come for LLM have only come to study about those laws, do a specialization, and go back to their country. They're not actually interested in settling down over there. And that has been one of the major stereotypes that I've actually seen in US. Two, they think that the only reason they're doing this is because they have a genuine interest, but not to find a job. 3, they're doing this LLM because they have no idea what they're doing in their career and they don't know what to do. So they decided to do a random specialization or do a general LLM. 4, they think that you're trying to cover up your poor previous academics, in case if you had poor previous academics, that you're trying to cover that by doing an LLM from a reputed university. So those are the 4 reasons that I usually got from recruiters. And again, obviously visa is one of the reasons, but even our academic counselor, the first thing that they told us during orientation was doing an LLM means that you're trying to specialize in a subject area or you're just trying to gain more knowledge. And it is not a way that you're trying to get a job. And that is one stereotype that is there, which even the recruiters believe. So the way I actually got those mid-sized law firms and those clients was because I networked. I networked like a maniac. I was at a conference, I was at a meeting every single day. I didn't know what I was doing there. I was just there because I could learn about those people, I could meet them, and I could actually make a contact. I could actually make them remember me, remember who I am, so that if in future, if I ever needed their assistance, I could actually ask for it. So from a career perspective, when you're going for an LLM, think about what the recruiter thinks, think about what the partners and associates think, and think about why you want to do it. Don't be crazy that I just want to shift to this particular country, which is why I want to do this LLM. That would be the worst decision you ever make. And yeah, so that's about it. And I think we have less than a minute. So let's shift to the next session.
All right, we can shift to the next session. Devshri, can you please stop the recording
Atin, we have a question or two. We can take.
and please end the session?